Alright. Pinch bolt for the ball joint here. It's 14mm. This is the nut. On the other side is the bolt head. You go ahead and take. Usually you can get these loose without the whole bolt moving. But just keep your hand on the other side to make sure the bolt doesn't move. You want to back this off enough so that it just the end of it just covers the outside of the thread, because you're going to have to hammer this bolt out, and you don't want to tear the threads up. If you hammer on the bolt alone, you can tear the threads up. The pinch bolt and everything else with the ball joint that I've purchased, actually it comes with a new pinch bolt and a new nut for this and a stud, or I'm sorry, a bolt and a nut for this. So it really doesn't matter if I tear these threads up, but I'm going to show you how to do it without tearing the threads up, in case you're just removing the ball joint for some other reason and not to replace it with something new. Just backed up enough here. There we go. Take your hammer, BFH as I like to call it, and hammer this out. Very tight spot to work in. It's hard to see. If you're having trouble with it, go to the other side here and turn the bolt. It'll break loose all that rust that's in there. A lot of corrosion built up in this one. These have been on the car for 10 years. Well, almost 11 years. This car was manufactured in March of '97, so it's about 3 months. 3.5 months it'll be on there for 11 years. That might explain what's a bit difficult to remove. There we go. Now it's loosened up, and then take the nut off so you can hammer the pinch bolt all the way out. If you weren't able to just pull that out, you can get either a kind of a small screwdriver or skinny screwdriver. It's kind of stout. What I like to use is a punch like this, so I don't tear my screwdrivers up, and then you can just, hammer it out that way. So that works on pretty much any bolt that goes through a hole like that. Alright, now you gotta remove these two, and then we'll pull the ball joint out of the bottom of the spindle and start with a new part. It probably isn't going to be very easy, but we'll get to that. These are both 17mm. I'll start by taking the nut off the bottom here. You can see there's a bolt and then there's a nut on the bottom. Just like the pinch bolt, you can usually turn these and get them off without the rest of it turning, especially if they've been on here for a while. Well, mine's going to go ahead and turn. So, just put a box end on it here. Be careful not to pinch your hands. Let it rest against the rotor, and I won't have to hold the thing. Oh, come on. on something like this, since it is upside down, you have to remember you have to go counterclockwise in relation to the bolt or the nut, the part you're taking out. From up here it looks like you're going clockwise, but from down here it looks like you're going counterclockwise. If you try going clockwise from your point of view, you're going to be trying to tighten this thing and it's not going to come off. So just make sure you got it set the right direction. If you've got a ratchet like this, just make sure you got it in the right direction. That way you can't mess up and try to tighten it when you really intend to loosen it. Okay, now that we got that off, again, since I'm not reusing these parts, I'm not going to bother leaving the nut on so that I don't bugger the threads up. Go ahead and tap that out of there. I'm not going to be able to get it out because this is in the way. You'll find when you go to put this back together, that's a pain in the ass to get it back in because this pinch part's going to be in the way of the head of this bolt. It's weird that there's only 3 nuts and bolts you got to take off to get this out, but it's like one of the hardest things per nut and bolt you'll have to do. Alright, now it is a bit difficult to get this on here. You could use a box end. When we go to tighten this down, I'm going to use my torque wrench and I'll show you how to get these in here. But for now, to make it easier, I'm going to use my box end. You'll find it, most of the time it's going to be hard to get off, so I'm going to use my Hillbilly Impact. What it is basically just a wrench and a hammer. So I'm going to put a wrench on and then hit the other end with a hammer, impact wrench. Air tools certainly come in handy with work like this. I'm going to use a cheap one. Alright, still in there pretty good, so I can find my pry bar. Take your pry bar, stick it in the bottom here. Try to pry this ball joint out. Easier said than done. It'd be easier if I took this bolt out. This one's going to be walked out, just prying it a little bit at a time on each side. And see, it came out from the inside bolt there, one closest towards the middle of the car. And then this bolt out here, to knock out. Okay, there you go. Now we got those both out. And the really unfun part is getting this ball joint out of the bottom of the spindle. Been in there for a while. It's very comfortable where it's at. It doesn't want to go anywhere. The easiest thing to do would go get a pickle fork. You can rent one from some part stores. You can buy one. They're not too expensive. I don't have one here. what it does is it straddles the ball joint like this, and it's got a tapered end. It gets thicker towards the handle, and as you hammer it in, it actually pushes between the ball joint and the spindle and pulls this out. It'd be a lot easier than the way I'm about to show you how to do it. You can see up here corrosion builds up around it, and so what it does is it gets stuck in there because of this corrosion. It's really tight fit anyway. Even when you put the new one in, you'll see, because it's hard to you kind of have to hammer that new one in a little bit. So we're going to try to get this thing out without the benefit of a pickle fork. Okay, what I've done is remove the rotor. To do that, there's two 17mm bolts that go in the back here. Just take those out, and the caliper will come right off. See, it sits like this. Once you take that off, slide the rotor out. The reason I'm doing that is since I'm not using a pickle fork on this, and if you have more foresight than I do, you'll go get one. This is a real pain in the ass. What we're going to do is, we need the space. You don't want to damage your rotor, and on top of that, you need the swinging room to hit this, and then move it and hit it over here. Basically, we're going to walk it out like this. We're going to He-Man hammer slam this thing. So, make sure there's nothing underneath that in case you miss, or if you slip off and hit, it'll come up and hit you in the neck, and you don't want to deal with that. You also make sure you have some safety glasses on. This is going to create a lot of dust. Do not inhale the dust, or if you have a mask, put it on. Or like me, I just hold my breath, hammer the hell out of it, let the dust settle, hold my breath, hammer the hell out of it until it finally comes off. Or sometimes if I can find my mask, I'll put that on too. I think I know what. A really cheap dust mask probably ain't going to work. So I picked this one up. It's got some heft to it. It's double filtration. It's got 2 bands on it. I think this is actually for when you install fiberglass insulation. Works pretty good. Those paper masks I used to wear, I actually still pulled junk out of my nose. Felt like I was blowing muddy river water out of my nose for a while. Alright, now that we're all prepared, you're going to give it swing on each side. Just move. Well, that came out a lot easier. Usually you have to hammer on it for probably about a good 10 minutes. And a good 2-headed hammer, just whack the hell out of it. And then move it to the other side, whack the hell out of it. Finally it'll fall out like this. Now believe it or not, this actually looked that way before I started hammering on it. It was in pretty bad shape. You don't want these to rust through. Then your wheel will fall in, and then you'll lose all steering and probably die. So it's a good idea to replace these when the boots start to deteriorate like that one did. Alright, now I get to set the camera back up where I had it and move my lighting around, and we'll get to the install part of this. Okay, we're ready to start putting in new parts. You can see a nice new ball joint here. Certainly looks a whole lot better than the one I took out. So we're going to go ahead and put this in the bottom, where we just knocked the old one out. Just take your hammer, tap it in. I know you can't see it, but you just spent some time removing that thing, so hopefully you know what hole it goes into since you just took it out. Okay, a new ball joint here. Go ahead and stick it in the bottom where you took the previous one out. Should go in pretty easy. Your new bolt, stick it through here. I have to move this up and down a little bit to get it to go in all the way. It's okay if you need to tap it. Just be easy on it. Go. Take your new nut. This one, new nut. The pinch bolt is actually a 17. make sure you put these on the right way. These actually have an insert, a little nylon insert to help them lock onto the bolt you put them on so they don't vibrate off. I'm going to tighten this down all the way now. I'm going to torque it down with the torque wrench later, but go ahead and get it just snug by hand. Alright, on the back of this one has a new stud on it. I try to get it in the hole back here. Which is not the most fun you'll have today, probably. That one was kind of easy, a little easier than usual. These nuts are actually 18s. Nope. No, these are 19s. Two different sizes for some stupid reason. Put your new bolt in the top here. Remember, this one's going to be a little hard to get in because it's a tight fit between the control arm and the spindle here. Might have to pick up on the spindle a bit. Get it to line up enough for the bolt to slide in. If you have to, you can take your pry bar, stick it between the tip of the bolt that's sticking out for the pinch bolt and then the control arm and pry on it a little bit. Careful not to hit yourself in the head with the pry bar like I almost did. Looks like I need to get this lined up a little more to make it easier to clear. There we go. I got the flat end here against the spindle so that I have more room. Almost got it in. There we go. Put the nut on the bottom. Go ahead and get this one snugged up. Yeah, this one's wanting to move now. Oh, got that one snug down. Let's get this one snug down, and then we'll use the torque wrench to set them to the proper tightness. If you don't have a torque wrench, these are actually torqued down to 75 foot-pounds. That's pretty tight. That's a good two-handed grunt. This one's only 40 foot-pounds. That's a good one-hand grunt. So it's really kind of hard to. It's much worse to under-tighten, really over-tighten these grade of bolts. It's much worse to under-tighten these. Just, you know, err on the side of caution and just get them pretty tight. But I'm going to use my torque wrench because, well, hell, you know, I paid for the thing. I'm going to get some use out of it. Oh, my hands are blue because I choked a Smurf to death. Yeah. Alright. I already got my torque wrench set to 75 foot-pounds, so I'm going to do these first. I got a clicker. I like my clicker. Looks like the bolt and all is going to move on this one, so I'm gonna have to put my wrench on it, box end here. Well, the box end is not gonna fit, so I'm gonna use the open end. Wrench back. Now, this one, a little tight fit. I find it easier to come in from this end and just pull the whole top of the wrench over like that. There you go. Alright. And then you take it off, just the opposite way you put it on, just kind of pick up and push back like that. There you go. And watch your finger. I just hit my finger there and that hurt like hell. I wanted to say a few more cuss words, but I'll keep those to myself. And the last one is 17mm. And this one is set to 40 foot-pounds. I changed the setting on my wrench here. And the whole thing's gonna move. And I hate when they do that. So gotta use good old trusty wrench again. Alright. If you didn't use the pickle fork, take that ball joint out and you remove the rotor and brake caliper like I did here to do it without a pickle fork. So, need to put that back on. Let me resituate the camera. Stick your rotor back on here. Take your outer part of the caliper, slide it over, line these pins up in the holes, push everything back, put your bolts in, thread them in by hand. You don't want to cross thread these. You don't have to go buy a whole new assembly. In fact, you probably have to get this from Ford. I don't think this definitely, I don't believe that comes with, if you buy a caliper, I'm not sure this comes with it. Get it lined up here. Go ahead and get these snugged up. I find it easier on this top one to use an extension. You're not going to use a torque wrench to get that tightened up, just get it nice and snug. Torque on these bolts here is 32 foot-pounds. Still going to have to use the extension on that one. Alright. There we go. Well, all you gotta do now is put your wheel back on, put the car back on the ground, and you're finished with the ball joint. Works the same on the other side. Probably wouldn't need an alignment unless your ball joints were so wore out that it had gotten sloppy. If you did have play like this in your wheel, then you probably should take it in and get an alignment done. Otherwise, no need to worry about it. And well, you just saved yourself a bit of money there. Thank you for purchasing the video, and if you need any help, my email address is at the end, and you can email me and I'll help you if I can. Thank you.